Hey fam, it's me again. I forgot that I was going to tell you guys about the Western Union situation, man. So, you know, Rico sent me that money, man. Thanks again, Rico, man. It was a blessing. I bought some clippers with it, man. I don't know if you noticed, but let's check it out. I bought these. These were nice, man. These were nice. So I bought some clippers, man, because I can't shave with a razor. But so to get this money, man, I had to literally jump through hoops, man, and I didn't get frustrated, man. I took my time. I was patient, and it was a trip. So here's what happened. So, Rico sent me the money the night before, and so what he did, I had that ID. I had that prison ID. Well, it wasn't a prison ID. It was a release ID, and they wouldn't let me use it. And so, he said that he was going to switch it to a test question, like a security question, so I could just, if I had to answer the security question, then I could just get the money. And so when we went to take the test, when I went to take the written part of the driving test, we stopped at Walmart to go get the money, and he told me what the security question was, and what the answer was. So I go to Walmart, and when I get there, they tell me that they can't take the paper ID that I just got, because the BMV took my ID and gave me a temporary permit when I passed the test, and they said that would serve as my ID. So they was going to be sending me my ID or my temporary card ID in the mail. And so I said, okay, cool. But I said, but this is valid. They was like, yeah, you can use this. And I was like, okay. So when I got to Walmart said that I can't use it, right? And I was like, what do you mean? They said that I can't use it. I can't use a paper ID for wire transfers. And I was like, that don't make any sense, because what happens if you lose your wallet, or you get robbed or something, and somebody wires you some money? You don't have any ID. So anyways, so I leave. They tell me that maybe the bank down the next door will be able to cash it. So I go to the bank next door, and the bank tells me that the terminal is, they're saying that the money is being paid out at another terminal is still open, so they can't get into it. So I go back to Walmart and tell them to close out the terminal so that this bank can get me the money. So when I go to the bank tells me that they can't take a paper ID, right? So I'm like, what? This is like, I'm like, all right. So I leave, and I go to I'm like, okay, so no, I take that back. The bank tells me that they can't do it because the terminal is open. That's what they tell me. The terminal is open. And so I'm like, I went to Walmart and they said it's not open. And they said, well, did you open it up in another city? And I said, yeah, I opened it up in Alliance. So they was like, oh, well, you might have to go to the Alliance Walmart. So we go back to Alliance. We're in Canton now. We go back to Alliance, and I go to the Walmart there, and they tell me that I can't do it, and to go to the bank next door. It's the same setup, so it's another bank next door. So I go to the bank next door, and the guy tells me that, well, Walmart again told me that they can't take the paper ID, and then the guy at the bank, he says that he can't log into Western Unions because he's new there, and the other girl that's working there is from a different branch, so she can't log into the Western Union account. So I'm like, oh my gosh, man! What do we do? I can't get this is the only Western Union. And I had a flash. I was like, oh, I can get on my phone and push the Google Assistant and say, hey, where's the nearest Walmart? And then I did that, and it showed me where Giant Eagle was at. I was like, oh yeah, let me go to Giant Eagle. So I go into Giant Eagle, and I call them ahead of time though. This time I tell them my situation. I tell them that I got a paper ID, but they don't know if they can do it or not. So I'm on the phone when I walk into the store, and I'm at the customer service area, and they're trying to figure out if I can do a paper ID or not. So finally they come back and say, hey, you can't do a paper ID. And I was like, So I said, can I speak to a manager, please? So I spoke, they brought the manager over, and I explained to her my situation, and she was like, listen, I'm sorry, but, Western Union says that we have to have an ID. You got to have an ID. And I was like, but that don't make any sense, because the whole thing is set up so if you do the security question, you don't have to have an ID. So she was like, well, maybe there's a number that you can call. Here's our little kiosk. Look over there, And I'm like, what? I said, oh shoot, I'm standing right in front of it. So I get a little pamphlet. I look on the back. I see a customer service number. So I call the customer service. Now, just so you know, I'm a professional customer service rep. I'm certified. So, and I was like, okay. So I call the customer service, and I explain to them the situation, what's going on, and they were like, oh, yeah, that don't make any sense. Like, you're supposed to be able to answer with the security question. So she says, I'll tell you what, you go back to the store and you tell them to call this number. And I was like, I said, I can't just call them and tell them to call you. You know what I'm saying? She was like, no, I said, you can't just call them. You know what I'm saying? Instead of me having to go back and tell them to call you. And she was like, no, have them call this number. So I go back to the Giant Eagle, and the manager is at the front actually when I come in. So I told her, I said, hey, Western Union said for you to call this number. And she was like, okay, come on, follow me. And we went back, man, and they called. Oh, by the way, I forgot, I got to back up. So I told the customer service rep before I left, I got off the phone with her, I said, I think it would be a good idea for you to tell your supervisors that you should tell these stores, especially these local stores here in Alliance, that it's okay for someone to have an ID, to have not have an ID and to get the money with a security question. And they said that the customer service rep said that she would pass on to her supervisor. She would definitely tell her manager that. So when I got to Giant Eagle, I saw the manager, and she said, she called, and turns out that, yeah, I was right. I didn't need a ID for a security question. But she said, I still need to see your ID anyways. I was like, so I gave her the paper. She accepted it, and they gave me the money, man, and it was just that. Gee whiz, man. It was funny, though. I got the money, man. Thank you, Rico. Love you guys. Peace. One love.